If you're watching this video, then you're probably wondering what happened with my polygraph. Well, I've done a video for every step with good news on each one of them, with the exception of the update videos. There was maybe a little good news in there. So then we come to this video, polygraph. I can say I passed, y'all. I passed. I passed the polygraph. Now, some people, I've watched their videos and they're like, yeah, I passed polygraph, no big deal. I had nothing to worry about. But I'm going to be real, okay? The polygraph, you try not to look at information. People try to be vague about it, but it is one of the most, in my mind, crucial steps in the process that can make or break your whole journey. And I knew that months ago, going into applying. Man, how am I gonna perform on the polygraph? What are the, what do I expect? What do I do? I'll be perfectly honest. I tried not to look at anything. I looked at a few people that gave their takes. Some had hot takes that were upset about. Some people dismissed the whole process, said that it was irrelevant. And I can't really speak to that only because it's part of the process and I had to go through with it. So let's start with how it all worked out. I was scheduled actually back in April to take my polygraph at the beginning of this month. So I got it relatively quick. Matter of fact, I did my fitness test and my medical eval, and then maybe 3 to 5 days after that, I got the phone call for my polygraph to schedule. I said, yup, I can do it. All right, May 4th, you're gonna do it. I had to fly to Tucson to conduct the polygraph exam there because in my location, they just didn't have somebody here. So you fast forward, I fly out, I get to Tucson. I got there a day early just because, I wanted to rest, settle in. I did try to take the advice of the cbp.gov website, which is, get a good night rest, get you a good meal. But I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I was anxious. Anxiety's through the roof because I finally got to this point. This is it. And in my previous video, I talked about I did my drug test. I literally did my drug test for my job. I got home that next day. I went to the VA to try to handle some stuff, and I got the call to take my drug test that day. So I took the drug test maybe 2 days before I flew out to come here. Thankfully, I passed that, which I stated in the Updates 2 video. You can check that out on the channel as well. So I flew into Tucson knowing that this is one of the last steps, with the exception of my medical, that I got to take care of. So I get there. When I spoke to the facilitator that was going to do the test, when I spoke to him on the phone, he said, you can fly out. We'll do the test at 9 a.m. at this address. Gave me the address. And he said, you don't got to bring anything, get a good night rest, just relax. It shouldn't take too long, but, just be prepared to stay all day. So if you got snacks, whatever the case may be, have water. So, very cordial, I get to Tucson, I rest, tried to rest, really didn't get no sleep. And I'm going to go over the process, and then I'm going to talk about areas where I would suggest not doing or things to try to do to set yourself up for the smoothest day possible when you do your polygraph, okay? So I go there. Now, disclaimer, I'm not going to go into any specifics of what was on the polygraph, what was discussed, any of that. I just arrived, was greeted, basically got the specific rundown of what was going to take place, and they did identify, what type of equipment they would utilize, and then what the process was going to consist of. And then from there, it started. Now, we got to a point where they essentially needed me to come back the next day. Now, here's the thing. What I would tell you is always plan for the worst case scenario, which would be you may have to, well, worst case scenario is you don't pass, right? But next worst case scenario is you may have to come back the next day. I wasn't initially prepared for that. I only had an Airbnb until that Friday morning. Was supposed to fly out on Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May. I was supposed to get my flight, come back, but I had the funds and I was able to make the arrangements. And they said, yeah, we can get you in tomorrow morning. We'll knock this thing out. You know, we just need you to come back. It's like, okay, no problem. I go back the next day, same thing. They give me the lowdown, what's going to take place. Boom, we get right into it. And it went relatively well. There wasn't anything that I felt concerned with or anything like that. So I got the completion, and this is a true statement, which what I will say here is that they will identify to you if you have passed. That, you know, if you've passed, they need you to come back. They or maybe you didn't. But it's not definitive because, you know, there has to be a validation of that. He said, yeah, I have you passing, but of course this has to get reviewed, so you'll get your official results in a couple days. And that was on a Friday. So I flew back Saturday morning. Sunday I was just chilling, and Monday morning bright and early I got the email, hey, you've officially passed your polygraph. Whew, thank goodness. Now, what I will tell you, the first day, when you watch cbp.gov or you listen to some things on YouTube or you look at the website, they'll tell you, yeah, just go about your day like normal. If you go work out, go get a workout in. If you take medication, take your medication. You like to drink coffee, drink your coffee, eat your meal, do whatever you do, right? For me though, the caffeine was a detriment. Additionally to that, I didn't drink enough water. So when I went in there, I was a little jittery. And that's not to say that on that first day it had any impact of my test, because I don't know if it did or it didn't. But I just feel like it didn't put me in a well-being or in a sense of a being where I was prepared. I was ready to execute the task at hand. So what I would tell you is, if you know you need coffee, hey, by all means. But if you're on the fence, I would say just drink water. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you try to get a good night rest. The other thing I did, because I knew I had to go back that Friday, I stayed up a little later so I would be tired, so I would fall asleep faster. So, and it might sound counterintuitive, but that was the only way I could get my body to calm down, because again, that anxiety, you're ramping up. For me, it was a very big step in this whole process. When I went that next day, it was all business. So what I can tell you is this. They are professional there to conduct an exam. You are there as a professional to conduct an exam. So you have to treat it as such, okay? Go in there with the understanding you are there to perform or to conduct a polygraph exam. That means you just sit, you answer questions. That's it. I cannot tell you how to answer, how not to answer. That is to each individual. But what I would say is, if you've said something on your application, you've said something on your background investigation, and what you say there should be what you've already stated. It should just be reinforcement of that. If you change any type of answer, I would tell you, you have to ask yourself, is that a violation of my integrity? Only you can answer that. So I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. You just have to keep in mind what you've said or haven't said in the whole process, because this is to determine if you are a trustworthy person that can be a Border Patrol agent. So aside from that, it's not a bad experience. The other thing I would say is, you get a lot of people that say, don't read this, don't watch this. Look, I'm not telling you to go watch a video on how to pass the polygraph, because realistically, I think you set yourself up for failure for that. But I also don't think that you should be afraid of watching a video of somebody's insight. Because I've seen videos of law enforcement guys, now that I'm complete, of people that talk about their experience and they give a perspective. But the one thing that's always mirrored in all of these is don't go in there with a plan to try to circumvent the system. You have a professional that's trained to look at things. You have a machine that is there to gauge things. And the best thing you can do is just be yourself and answer the way you feel you should answer. So if you are a truthful person and you say, hey, I'm going to answer telling the truth, then that's you. If you're a person that says, well, I'm going to lie because I do better, that's you. Just be yourself, answer those questions, and that's it. That's it. You'll be done. Whatever comes. But I don't think you should be afraid of videos that are out there, people's perspectives, because at the end of the day, this is something that not a lot of people do all the time. I mean, a typical job don't ask you to do a polygraph, so you don't know what to expect. The first thing you think of is, meet the parents and this old system. Like, that's the first thing people think. The reality is it's not as complex as people make it sound. But depending on how best thing to do is just answer the questions. I'll say it like that because, I don't want to dive too deep into it. But thankfully, I passed. Again, I didn't officially pat myself on the back until I got the email, and it felt good. It felt really good, and I have to admit, this was one thing that I just, to be perfectly honest, I tried to stay away from videos before I went, but I did read people's comments on like Reddit and in Facebook groups and just getting perspectives. And so like you hear, well, if you lie, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you tell the truth, you can still, they can still fail you. So those are things that were just going on in the back of my head, and I try not to pay them no mind because I looked at who I am. I looked at my military career. I looked at the things I've done. I look at the, how I grew up, the environment in which I grew up in. And I tried to just look at that from the position of, why do I want to be an agent? And then that confidence that I have from that answer is what I led with when I went in to conduct my exam. And it worked out for me. So, I wish you guys the best of luck. All of y'all that may be in the process that are gonna go and do your polygraph, don't sweat it. I can't tell you to not be nervous. I can't tell you to just brush it off, because it's like a 50% fail rate. All right, 50% of the people that take it don't get passed. So that says a lot. Okay, that number right there says a lot. So with that being said, just, if you feel like you do better when you have more information, then go get all the information. If you feel you do better by not knowing anything, then, don't know anything. Just go do it. But try to get the rest if you can get it. Try to make sure you stay hydrated so you at least keep yourself, you keep yourself in the best possible posture that you can be in to go execute that one step that's in this process. I hope this video is helpful. If y'all got any questions, feel free to ask. Once again, just waiting on some medical stuff to get submitted, and then maybe a background investigation phone call. And then after that, we should be towards the finish line of getting the final offer. I'll keep y'all posted. Thank you for coming to the channel. It means a lot if you watch, if you subscribe. Also, a little side note, there may be different types of content that start to pop up on the channel. If it's your cup of tea, cool. If not, and you're here specifically for Border Patrol stuff, then hey, I appreciate your presence in any case. All right, until the next video, y'all, peace.